Hey, I'm Ruiz with Tactical Hyve. We're on the range today to go over a couple of bad habits that we get from the competition side that translate over into the tactical or combat mindseted type training. We want to be fair in our comparison because we tend to, pull the good stuff out of the competition side and we talk about how that could benefit the combat side. But let's be fair in that conversation or comparison and talk about the negatives as well. One of the most common bad habits that we tend to see coming from the competition side is the snatching back of your weapon system as soon as the engagements are done. So I'll demonstrate that here with a pistol. Obviously I'm clear and safe. Okay, so in competition, you'll tend to see shooters after they shoot their stage, they'll immediately snatch it back. Sometimes you'll actually see them immediately start to unload and show clear to the RO because they think they're done shooting. Even in the competition, sometimes that becomes a bad habit because sometimes they'll look back up and they'll realize that they did not finish engaging all the targets. And so you'll actually see them reload and re-engage. So it's just a bad habit all around. But when we start talking about more of a realistic situation, more tactical style, that bad habit translates into, as soon as you shoot your threat, you're immediately snatching back, and then you see guys checking their mags to see how many rounds they have and all that kind of stuff, versus engaging my threat and then maybe following into the ground, staying back into a compress ready or high ready, low ready, strike ready, however you want to manipulate your firearm, doing a scan back and forth, trying to make sure everything's good. But again, we're still in that engagement. Another consideration to that is when we're training, we talk about how each shot requires 2 sight pictures, right? So I get a sight picture for my first shot, bang, I shoot, all right, follow through with a follow-on sight picture. If I've got 2 shots, I'm already prepped, ready to shoot, bang, right, follow through with that final sight picture. So 2 shots, 3 sight pictures, 3 shots, 4 sight pictures, so on and so forth. So I'm training to not snatch my gun back. So I would shoot, sight picture, bang, right? Follow through with a sight picture and then follow on to, whatever your situation might be. All right, another bad habit that we tend to see coming from the competition side is the 180. Now, this isn't the shooter's fault. This is just the safety rules that we have in competition, being on a public range. We've got crowd behind us watching, people taking video, that kind of stuff. All right, so that 180, however, doesn't exist in the real world, right? Real world, we've got 360 environment, up, down, left, right, all over the place. So what we tend to see in competition, okay, is if I needed to move, so I've got my engagement and then I'm moving to my next target, my next array, you'll tend to see shooters move like this where they're almost overly keeping the muzzle that way as they maneuver this way. As a right-handed shooter, this is comfortable for me. However, if I need to go to my left, then I'll tend to do something like this and have to maneuver that way, making sure that I keep my muzzle in a safe direction downrange, not breaking the 180. The last thing as a competitor that we want to do is give the range officer a reason to call us on our safety violation. So you'll tend to see shooters keep it almost overly aggressive downrange. Another problem that we tend to see, not just for the movement, but also the reload as well. So if I'm maneuvering this way, right, then it's okay, it's comfortable for me to reload in that direction. However, if I'm running this way, then I have to kind of tweak my arm or kind of skew my arm this way and reload off to the side so that I'm not playing with that 180 moving off to my left. Another one that we'll see is having to retreat, right? So sometimes you'll see shooters do this over their shoulder as they retreat. And then other times, depending on the direction, you might see them flip this way and then maneuver to the back that way. Now, the reload is almost, I don't even know how you can do a reload going that direction with your arm behind your back. So you'll tend to see the reloads happen prior to, and then they'll move, or they'll move first and then have to reload. So in comparison to competition, let's take a look at what we would prefer necessarily in a more 360 environment like the real world. So if I was done engaging and I needed to maneuver, again, if I want to go to the right, left, or to the rear, it really doesn't make a difference. I have two options. One, I can come into my workspace right here with in more of a strike ready or high ready, and the muzzle is in line with my center line. So wherever I look or turn, the muzzle is moving along with my center line. It never breaks. As soon as my center line breaks away from that muzzle, I have a potential tendency to want to start sweeping when I don't want to. I want to make sure I have a clear line of sight to whatever my threat is, and then I'm driving directly straight to it without flagging anything to the left and the right. Another option that we might have is more of a temple index. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this one, but this is an option. So I keep this is pressed right next to me, next to my temple, and straight directly up in the air. And then I can maneuver no matter where I maneuver. I'm pointed in a safe direction so long as my finger is off the trigger. And then the other option that I like to use pretty often actually is more of a compressed low ready, or down here in my center line as well, but it kind of stays in this circle right here. So yes, it's in my center line. However, if I'm moving fairly quickly, right, I tend to kind of want to pump my arms. So that's something you got to be careful of. But again, wherever my body moves, this muzzle is in alignment with it. So my head can still move. However, I cannot present until I have a clear line of sight and I'm in alignment with my body and my head, and then I can go ahead and present if I need to. My two favorites are either high ready or low ready. Again, I use those interchangeably. However, if I fall into needing a reload, I'll tend to want to come up into a high ready, because no matter which way I maneuver, now this is in my workspace, I can perform my reload safely as I'm maneuvering and re-engage if I really need to. With the low ready, I don't really want to be in this position to do my reloads, because now I'm forced to have to bring my head down. I don't know where I'm going if I'm maneuvering, and I don't know, I just can't keep eyes on my environment while I'm performing that. Okay, so again, I just use those interchangeably. Personally, I don't really like the temple index just because it's closing off my peripheral. I think there is a time and place for temple index, but that's for another day. One of the other bad habits that you might obtain from competition is just gear centric, right? It's just the gear that we use for competition in order to try to minimize your overall time, right? Because we're shooting for score, that kind of stuff. So some of the gear is set up specifically for that. So here we have a competition rig. It's pretty raced out with more of a ghost holster type, where the only thing it's doing is essentially pinching this trigger guard. The entire gun is fully exposed, and you can see how offset it is from your body, so you don't have to skew your body in order to try to do a draw or anything like that. Not only that, but the motion that's required to unholster this pistol is more of an upward and forward motion, right? You barely go upward to release the mechanism, and then it allows you to pull forward. So it's very, very quick, right? I don't have to fully come up before I can present. It's just a simple sweep of the pistol, and it comes up and out. Again, trying to minimize that distance moved, which gives me a faster time. Not only that, these are not that secure, but again, those bad habits on the draw and trying to clear any kind of garments or what have you are going to come out of using this all the time. Now, those competition drawing habits don't necessarily transition over to concealed carry. In this case, I'm carrying appendix, right in front of me with a cover garment, in this case, a t-shirt. So what I'm doing for a full race ready kit, again, it just doesn't work. It's not pushed off my body, so I don't have to skew. I do actually have to defeat some sort of cover garment, in this case, because it's appendix. I'm kind of tensing up my shoulder. I'm coming in more on my center line here, but I don't really get a full grab. If you notice, my thumb is actually over the top of the sights, more on the back plate here, before I can actually pull the pistol out of its holster, and then have to re-rotate my hand in order to create my grip. So again, competition stuff doesn't always translate. So yes, it's great to shoot fast and have fun. However, if you are a responsible concealed carry holder, I would highly, highly recommend that you're gonna train as well with the gear that you're going to carry every day. And that could also change depending on, maybe the weather and what kind of clothing and things like that you have. So this is a constantly evolving thing. It's not the same all the time. So if you like to have different pistols, hey, 4 o'clock, FBI carry, inside the waistband, outside the waistband, appendix, you've got to train all of them. Those bad habits will carry over. Another bad habit we tend to see from the competition is typically seen with newer shooters. As newer shooters get involved in competition, they feel the need to want to run closer to the targets instead of letting the bullets do the work or cover that distance. So specifically, we see that with any kind of barricade or cover. Newer shooters tend to want to crowd that cover, get real tight. Now, the reason that this becomes a bad habit for, let's say, more of a tactical scenario is for a couple potential reasons. One, so my perfect platform on my shooting platform tends to get skewed as the closer I get to this barricade, right? So now I'm compressed, I'm off center line and things like that. So now my marksmanship just went down. A second reason why this could potentially be kind of hindrance by crowded cover is maybe my maneuverability, right? So maybe doing a reload, right? I'm real tight to it and I don't have any space to really work, right? Whereas maybe taking one step off allows me to have some maneuverability, and I also increase my peripheral vision, maybe, depending on your situation. And a third reason why this could be potentially bad is overexposure, right? So if I'm pressed up over here and kind of protruding past whatever barricade or wall or whatever it might be, I could potentially be flagging or exposing myself over to some other threat that could be over there. Whereas if I were just to take a step back, maybe even a couple steps back, depending on the situation, I can do everything that I need to do right here. There's no reason for me to go further or deeper in. If I need to reload, I can do it back here. I've got my shooting posture. I'm not overexposing myself, again, depending on the barricade, right? And then if I need to pie around this corner, I have plenty of space to do so. Now, I'm not saying that you should never go up to a barricade. What I'm saying is that it's situational dependent, and just understand the pros and cons. You may just have to, just for the angle to get a shot off, actually have to get up here and get that, get close to it. So just know what you're gaining and what you're giving up when we're talking about crowding cover. The last bad habit we're gonna cover for today is reloads and the status of the gun when shooter is performing those reloads. So depending on the organization that you're shooting with in competition, for instance, USPSA or some sort of 3-gun, you'll see a lot of shooters will actually start performing their reload before they went to slide lock. Therefore, when the mag is hitting the ground, it's still full of some ammo. Now, the reason they're doing that is to save time. They don't want to go to a slide lock because they are shooting for time and it's a race, right? In IDPA, they actually frown upon that and you get a procedural penalty for doing that. So again, it just depends on the organization. So when we compare the reload styles from USPSA and 3-gun, carrying those over into the real world may not necessarily be the best idea for you in your situation that you might be in. Do you really want to be dropping mags that have ammo in them? So either, hey, you go to slide lock and you perform your reload, or you have an option if you do have some time in the middle of your engagement or situation to perform a tactical reload and stow or pocket that mag that's partially filled with ammo. So you've got a fresh mag in there, but you still retained your ammo. So to wrap up our training video for today, there are some bad habits that we pull from competition that don't necessarily translate into the real world. However, just know that there are a lot of good habits as well that translate over. Now, same thing, there's a lot of great habits and bad habits as well that go from the tactical or combat side over to the competition side as well. So it works both ways. So if you're a tactical shooter, that's how you like to train, that's awesome. I do that as well. But when I go shoot competition, I know that I need to make a couple changes if I want to be competitive to try to, decrease my time on the stages to get a better score. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, please like, comment, and subscribe to Tactical Hyve.